Greetings everyone and welcome back to beautiful San Diego. Today we will trek through the Conrad Prebys Australian Outback and at the end of the video take a quick look into the Terrace Lagoon. In this Australian Outback we will get looks at a wide variety of Australian birds, plants, and a few of its famous resident mammals. Near the entrance we get a look at Aboriginal style totem poles, each topped with an iconic Australian species. The inspiration for this style of totem pole comes from the painted log artwork of Aboriginal Australians and the totem poles of indigenous peoples of North America. Past this, we move into an eucalyptus grove featuring 3 aviaries, and across from the aviaries, homes for naked-nosed wombat, whom I did not spot on my 6 days there, as well as 2 exhibits for a male and female Tasmanian devil. More on them later. The only complaint I have for this area, and this is a very minor complaint, is that it's very difficult to spot, or if you are a photographer, to capture photos of the birds in these 3 aviaries. In my opinion, I would love for the San Diego Zoo to turn this into a walk-through aviary, like the Owens or Parker aviaries. For those that are curious at what species reside in these 3 aviaries, I will put a full species list in the description of this video. And here, in between 2 of the aviaries, we catch a glimpse of 2 young Wollemi pines, which are not actually pines, but part of the Ariacaceae family. These unusual looking trees have multiple trunks, textured bark, and fern-type fronds. As these trees mature, their bark will take on the bubbled texture that is unique characteristic of these living fossils. These trees can grow to heights of 120 feet and withstand extreme temperatures. Fewer than 100 of these trees are left in their native range of the Blue Mountains and are considered critically endangered. Up until 1994, they were only known from 120 million-year-old fossil records. In 1994, a park ranger found a stand of less than 100 trees in a remote location. The exact location of these trees in the rugged Blue Mountains is kept secret. And we just passed one of my favorite birds, the kookaburra. So why does the kookaburra sit in the old gum tree? Both eucalyptus and gum trees are prime perches for these winged predators. A kookaburra will sit motionless on a branch until a prey animal, like a frog or rodent, passes by. Then this bird swoops down and snatches up the prey in its big and powerful bill. Coming up on our right will be the first Tasmanian exhibit. Here we will meet McLovin, born on March 26 of 2016, and he's described as being friendly and outgoing, usually found outside, using his keen sense of smell to find food. And in a few moments we will meet Corinda, who's a bit shy but steadily gaining confidence as she ventures outside more often, and she also was born in 2016. And for those of you back home in Missouri, these are not those Tasmanian devils that go. So back in the 1970s, San Diego Zoo welcomed the first male Tasmanian devil born at the zoo, who was named Doberman. He also happened to be the first of the species to be hand-raised in the children's zoo nursery shortly after his mother had refused him. At 3 weeks of age and weighing 3 ounces, Doberman was brought to the zoo's nursery. However, unlike the other young charges in the zoo's nursery, including various species of bears, cats, and primates the nursery had cared for in the past, there was no record of any milk formula for this type of marsupial. Resourceful nursery staff members created a diet with a recipe created from evaporated milk, water, and a commercially made canned kitty milk. Not too long afterwards, Doberman graduated to Gerber's strained beef, beef heart, and Zupreme, a commercially available homogenized diet. This became another successful story of an animal at the zoo not only surviving but thriving. At 9 months of age, Doberman would return to the new Tasmanian devil enclosure at the zoo and join his mother and sister, who was not rejected by the mother. Across from these exhibits, we will get to the Queenslander House, featuring wide decks that will give us ample viewing for the resident koala colony and Parma wallabies. The areas are divided with the males on one side of the building and the females on the other. At the end of the yards housing the males, we will spot a pair of palm cockatoos. And what we are seeing here is the backside of the female habitat. The building or house in the center has displays about koala conservation and features a window that gives us a glimpse into the koala food prep kitchen. 7 males include Thackeray, Burley, Moki, Simba, Oliver, Burra, and Logan reside in the male yards, and females Thera, Wanneroo, Colette, Bindi, and Coolaroo reside in their respective yards. And this is the view if we are walking from the urban jungle to the Australian outback. The story of the koalas at the San Diego Zoo goes way back when founder Dr. Harry Wegeforth dreamed of bringing these animals to the zoo. But we will fast forward a little bit here. In 1924, zoo director Tom Falconer arranged an animal exchange with zoos in Melbourne and Sydney for koalas and other Australian species. So Falconer set out on a trip that was complicated by seasickness, storms, and at one point even an alligator that took a stroll on deck after a squall. Eventually the ship made it to the port in Sydney, and he was happy with the valuable and rare animals that were ready to set sail for San Diego Zoo. Unfortunately, this did not include koalas. The Australian government at the time hadn't lifted the ban on their exportation, and Mr. Falconer stated later, "I made up my mind to swallow my disappointment." As everything was being finalized for their embarkment and journey home, and right before all the shore whistle blasted, a small delivery truck pulled up to the gangplank with 2 large crates bearing a sign that said, "Koala bears for the children of San Diego, USA, from the children of Sydney." These 2 koalas were named Cuddle Pie and Snuggle Pot, named after characters in an Australian children's book. This delivery happened after the Tauranga zoo director got the permits at the last minute, and the marsupials could come to San Diego. On the voyage home, the koalas shared Mr. Falconer's cabin. Snuggles and Cuddles, as they were nicknamed, became immediate celebrities at the San Diego Zoo when they arrived in 1925 and set the stage for San Diego's ongoing love of koalas and the successful breeding colony that continues at the San Diego Zoo today. This pair fulfilled a big dream of San Diego Zoo founder Dr. Harry Wegeforth. They have the first koalas in North America. Our next story comes from the 1950s. So Teddy was one of 4 koalas shipped from Australia to make a movie and then moved to the San Diego Zoo. Their habitat featured large eucalyptus trees and spent much of their time in the treetops, where they ate 3 different types of fresh eucalyptus. To Teddy, however, those eucalyptus trees on the other side of the fence looked fresher and better. So, on April 1st of 1953, Teddy climbed a sprinkler pipe, jumped from it to the fence, and headed to the top of a very tall eucalyptus tree 25 feet away from his exhibit. The fire department was called in to help get him down with a hook and ladder truck. Teddy was eventually scooped up by his keeper and returned home again, and shortly after, the escape route was removed. We'll fast forward time again and move to the year 1985. After 33 koala births, the zoo's koala keepers were in the right place at the right time to witness a koala birth. On July 21st, Velvet's baby emerged and crawled into the pouch. When a koala is born, it emerges from the mother's birth canal with the eyes shut, hairless, and measuring at a ½ inch in length. This small joy crawls into its mother's pouch to nurse and continue to develop for another 6 months before it becomes visible to the outside world again. A few months later, the keepers were surprised to see Little Pooh, as they called him, was out of his mother's pouch and mouthing eucalyptus, months before he should have been. A medical exam showed that Velvet's pouch had an infection and young Pooh wasn't getting enough milk. Another koala, Jan, was recruited to act as a surrogate mother and care for this young koala while Velvet recovered at the zoo hospital. Because he was still nursing, keepers devised a way to feed him his formula every 3 hours around the clock. Joy would climb out onto a fluffy teddy bear and suckle from a syringe, which was fitted with a nipple similar in shape to that of a female koala's. In addition to the formula, the youngster soon began nursing from Jan as well, who had recently had a Joy that unfortunately did not survive. It was touch and go for quite a while, but in the end, the little koala thrived, much to the joy of all the koala keepers who had worked so hard to give him a chance. He became an established member of the koala colony, and he eventually sired offspring of his own. Gulera was another famous resident of the San Diego Zoo. His name means moonlight, and he happened to be a 1 in a million albino koala born at the zoo. Like any other albino animal, lack of pigment in the fur made him susceptible to sunburn, so keepers limited his time outdoors. He even made an appearance on Johnny Carson at one point and became a favorite and was irresistible with his sweet demeanor and good looks. This concludes our trek through the Australian outback at the San Diego Zoo. Thank you for joining me. This is Brad, and I will see you where our adventures take us next. Until next time, safe travels, everyone.